And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him.
Come and See is an anti-Soviet war film directed by Elem Klimov. It takes place in Nazi-occupied Belarus. We follow around a teenage boy named Fliora who eagerly joins a Soviet partisan group. Soviet partisan group, basically like a resistance movement against the Nazi regime. It's based on a 1971 novel called Katyn. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Is Khatyn, Katyn, and a collection of survivor testimonies from I Am from the Fiery Village. One of the screenwriters, Ales Adamovich, was a co-author for the latter work, the I Am from the Fiery Village. So I thought that was pretty interesting that he's attached to both of these pieces of work. This is one of those stories from World War II that I had never heard about before. This Nazi occupation lasted from 1941 to 1944, and more than 2 million people were killed in Belarus during those 3 years, during that 3-year time period. So it's horrific. It's we'll be talking about it over and over again, but this whole thing is just unimaginable. Watching this kind of reminded me of watching the movie The Third Part of the Night, which I did an episode on a couple years ago, I think, or at least a year or two ago. Just because the way that both of these movies, they kind of zoom in and show what was going on in these occupied areas in a much more intimate way. You really see a lot of the specific details. Like in The Third Part of the Night, there's the lice feeding that was going on in occupied Poland. That movie is definitely a lot more heavy as far as the surrealism aspect goes, but the overall effect is still there. You can feel how tense everything was and how, and they're both from lived experiences. The director of The Third Part of the Night grew up in occupied Poland, was born there, so it's from firsthand experience, as well as this one with the I Am from the Fiery Village recollection of the Belarus occupancy. What am I fucking... Fuck. Son of a bitch, I'm going to be messing this shit up all night, all these words. I just finished the movie just right before recording this, so I'm just doing my best, you know what I'm saying? Just watch this whole subtitled movie, so everything's in, several different languages, German, Belarusian. What else? What other languages are they speaking here? I don't know. There's a lot going on in this movie. Anyway, this is such a heavy subject and a really dense period of time to learn about. There was so much going on during the Second World War, and most of it is, like I said, unimaginable. I really didn't want to bring up today's politics with all of this. I just don't think it's comparable. You hear people being called fascists and Nazis so often nowadays that it feels like the meaning is really lost. Some of it's sincerity. I typically hear... usually on the Republican side of things, Republican speakers or politicians being called Hitler or a Nazi or a fascist nearly every day. Like if you use social media, which I think is a big problem with all of this stuff, you're going to see that at some point or another. And I understand disagreeing with someone's point of view, but jumping straight to Hitler or Nazis just comes off as disingenuous. It makes you sound uninformed and takes away from what people really went through during World War II. By the end of this movie, we learned that over 600 villages in Belarus were burned to the ground along with the villagers inside. Comparing that to anything that's going on in the United States right now just is too hyperbolic for me. Alexei Kravchenko plays Fliora. The creators of the movie cast all non-actors for their roles, so no one in this movie had previous acting experience. So they did that intentionally. They wanted the reactions to everything to be genuine, and the actors, they thought that if they cast real actors, they would come off as guarded. And yeah, that includes Alexei. So this is his first acting role. And he was 14 years old when they started filming this movie. They shot it in 9 months in chronological order. You see the toll just from filming this movie, the toll that it takes on this kid. From what I understand, there wasn't much makeup being done on him other than I had heard that his hair turned gray from filming because by the end of it, he has like gray hair as a 14-year-old boy, which is nuts. But I did hear that they were putting some sort of like silver paint or dye in his hair as the movie went on. But by the end of this thing, this kid looks like a rotten onion, and apparently it's all just from the stress of what's been going on around him. You might be thinking, what's so stressful about making a little movie? You know what I'm saying? People make movies all the damn time. I've seen The Avengers. And it's said that in the scenes where he's being shot at, there's several scenes where he's being shot at in a field, they used live ammunition and bullets were coming within a foot from this kid's head. All the explosions are real. There are a lot of things that you can tell that they just were not faking, they look super uncomfortable and tense. One of those being an animal death. So that's something that I'm just going to throw it out there in case you're thinking about watching this movie and that's a deal breaker for you. There is a scene where Fliora and another man are stealing a cow. These German soldiers show up and just start laying down tracking fire. They're just blasting everywhere, all over this place. And apparently they really shoot the cow and it dies on screen, which is really uncomfortable to watch. I was trying to get a credible source about this because it was something that I had kind of heard about when I was, looking into this movie a little bit more. And at first I was like, oh, it kind of seems like hearsay, but it doesn't seem unbelievable knowing that, the track record of making movies in the 80s and stuff like that and the animal deaths, especially it seems like movies that are being shot on with foreign rules, you know what I mean? It seems like there was a lot less strict rules as far as like animal cruelty goes in other countries and stuff. So I was trying to figure out if this really happened or not. A lot of the sources were just lists that were like 10 crazy facts about the movie Come and See and stuff like that. So I wasn't really sure, it wasn't coming from, I didn't see anything from like the director, but when I just Google it, an AI overview pops up that says that this actually isn't true and that the cow wasn't really killed and that they used a prop. But just the fact that they were using live ammunition for this scene, I kind of find that hard to believe after watching the movie. Hopefully that's the case, though. Hopefully this cow is living its best life right now somewhere, getting those residual checks from Come and See. Alexei would go on to act in other roles and even is credited for a movie called Rowing for Gold that came out last year. And yeah, on his Wikipedia, it looks like he's been super active, like almost putting out a movie every year. So pretty great. Great that he was able to make a career out of this afterwards after going through all this crazy shit. Because basically they just took this 14-year-old non-actor through hell and filmed it and put that up there. It is regarded as one of the best child actor performances of all time, so I guess that's something. Pretty sweet. And the movie sits in a lot of top 50 best movies of all time lists, or at least that's what I've seen anyway. It seems like it's pretty highly regarded and probably in a lot of top 10s as far as best anti-war movies of all time goes. So yeah, highly credited movies. Definitely one that you're going to hear recommended. It's a tough watch though, overall, I would say. If you do want to watch the movie, there's a DVD quality version on YouTube for free that I believe the production company actually put out on their YouTube, or you can rent it from the Criterion channel, or you can buy a copy of it from them as well, I believe. So with all that said, let's get into some damn spoilers for Come and See. We just start off with a guy. He's just kind of hollering around a beach, and he's just like, hey, show yourselves, And like I said, this is all subtitled, so I'm doing my best here with some of the dialogue and shit. Some kid comes walking up after that, and he's just repeating a rhyme about like wiping your ass with your finger, and he's doing it in like the voice of like that frog kid from The Little Rascals, if you know what I'm talking about. So right off the bat, I didn't know what the fuck was going on here. This guy that's hollering for them, he's like the village elder, I guess. Like he's the guy in charge of the village that they live at. Apparently these villages that they're going through typically like have a couple hundred people in them or something like that, maybe even less, it sounds like. So anyway, we see our main character just kind of hiding out in a bush until this village elder leaves, and then the kid that comes up to him doing the frog voice, you know, he starts like cracking him up. This little frog voice is getting him to laugh pretty hard. And then we get a title card that says that it's 1943. We see these two kids run off together and they're just digging around in the sand. Apparently they're looking for a gun. Like there must have been some sort of a battle or something that went on here, and it sounds like these kids are trying to find a gun so they can join the resistance. But anyway, the village elder is basically warning them like, don't go looking for guns. You're just going to attract the attention of the Germans and the like the Soviet allies or whatever. I can't remember what it was called right now, but apparently from what I was reading, there was like 1 million Soviets that were like working with the Germans to kind of like help them get through this area and territory and stuff like that and take over. So it sounds like they're almost like spies. Like if these kids show up with guns or something like that, it might alert the attention. It might look bad to the Nazis and they might be like, hey, we got to take these fucking kids out now because they're getting guns or something. Or they might join the resistance and try to help them out. So anyway, they hear some engines going on nearby. They hide quickly and we see that there is there's like a plane flying overhead that spots them. And right as this is happening, Fliora shoves his arms like elbow deep into the sand and finds a rifle. After that, he goes back to his home. His mom is really upset because he's just like really wanting to join the war or something, or like he really wants to join this group. She hands him an axe and she's like, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and just kill us all? Get it over with. That would be better than you joining the damn resistance or whatever. After that, some resistance soldiers show up and Fliora is very excited. He's just kind of like smiling, not really saying anything. He gathers his gun and a little supply box. One of the soldiers asks if his sisters are twins and they're just like, yeah. I wasn't sure who these guys were at first. I just noticed that they were dressed like soldiers and I was like, hopefully they're not Nazis and they take the twins, you know what I'm saying, and do all the crazy experiments on them that they were doing at that time. So the soldiers, they talk for a moment. They load Fliora up into a wagon and throw a little turkey on him. And then they just take off. The mom is sobbing. She is freaking the fuck out, obviously. She doesn't want him to be a part of this at all. He obviously doesn't understand what he's getting into, but he's very excited. He thinks he's doing the right thing and, fighting for what's right. So right away, you get the feeling that, Fliora is a bright kid and he just doesn't really understand what he's getting into. So it's like you see it coming from a mile away, though. When you also hear whenever he's in the back of the wagon, there's like another guy that they're bringing with them, and he's kind of an older guy. And you hear Fliora just kind of talking to him about the village elder, and he's like, yeah, the village elder's a fucking idiot. He doesn't know shit about anything. And that guy just kind of looks at him and says, I don't understand. And that's it. And it's like, okay, maybe this isn't the brightest bunch of people sitting in this wagon with a bunch of turkeys and shit. Anyway, when he gets to the camp, he takes some time just to talk, kind of like get to know everybody. And he's like politely greeting everyone. And like, he's like, oh, nice to meet you. I'm Fliora, and everyone just looks like sunken faces, like gray complexions. And they're just like, I don't give a fuck, bud. He gets invited to be in a group picture, and this is like all just kind of like building excitement in him, where he's like, yeah, this is actually going to be really cool. Later that night, Fliora is standing guard. Some dude just kind of comes up to him, asks for the password, and the guy just like walks up without saying anything. Fliора's like, hey, give me the password, and this guy's like, he doesn't say shit. And then he's just like, why didn't you shoot me? And Fliора's like, well, I recognize that you're like the leader or whatever. And he's like, I don't care. You should have shot me or something like that. And it's like, I get that you're making a point, but what if he did just fucking blow you away? Like, would that really have been worth it just to prove a point to this 14-year-old kid? The guy walks off after telling him to take an extra shift. And then some other group of guys show up and they're just like, nah, we're taking over now or something. It's our turn to watch the camp. I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of these resistance camps and how shit like this works, what the politics are like, inside of these things. I don't know what the hierarchy is here. The next day we see Fleora fully inside this giant cooking pot, and he's just like cleaning the hell out of it. It sounds like basically he's just kind of getting the shit end of all these jobs to do or whatever. And this lady, I think it's Glosha, comes up. I'm pretty sure this is Glosha at this point, but we don't really find out her name until later. She just like dumps a bunch of weeds and shit on him. And then we see the soldiers, they're like cooking a cow in it. When they took that picture earlier, we saw that they had a cow that says like, eat this before the Nazis do or something like that. There's a big morality speech as the resistance is getting ready to march on and go take on some damn Nazis. Fleora is about to leave with them. He's going to get a go with them and fight this fight. But this older recruiter kind of like pipes up and is like, hey, I can't fucking march because my boots are all fucked up. They're, blown apart and shit. So they're like, all right, hey, little boy, you got to give up your damn boots to this guy because he's more important than you are. He's older and shit. So Fleora has to give his boots away, and he's not allowed to go with the guys. So he's got to stay behind with the reserves. And he is so torn up about this that he wanders off into the woods and just cries by himself. He's like, fuck me. This is exactly what I didn't want to fucking happen. I wanted to go shoot some damn Nazis. He accidentally stomps out a bird's nest while this is going on. And this is another thing where it's just like, okay, he really stomped out the damn bird nest and there's like dead birds there and shit. And it's just like, all right. I don't know if you needed to do all that. Maybe just make a crunching noise, do it off screen or something. We don't need to be killing animals left and right in these damn movies. Anyway, while Fleora is sulking, he hears this girl, Glosha, crying too. He walks over to her and they just kind of start crying together until they start laughing. And then, they kind of bond that way, I guess. Fleora asks who she was like getting all dressed up for. And she stops crying and gets a little bit scary towards him. She kind of like gives him this like almost psychotic look. And she just starts telling him that they left him. She's like almost pissed that he's even asking. She's like, oh, they left you behind because you're just a little fucking boy. And then he starts getting all pissed off back at her. He's just kind of like, what? He's like, I don't think he realizes that he offended her, I guess, by asking who she got dressed up for, I don't think he thought that was going to be like a sore subject. He's just making conversation. But she turns it back on him. And she's just like, yeah, you're just a fucking little bitty ass bitch ass boy. And they're going to leave you here because they feel sorry for you because you're going to get fucking killed. And he's like, oh, what? It's like, all right, bitch, I was just trying to be your damn friend. She starts going off about like this dream she had about the leader getting killed and stuff, or maybe the leader had a dream about getting killed during this whole march and shit. Fleora is realizing that this bitch a little freaky right now. She starts just staring at him and asking, why don't you hear me? Why don't you see me? I exist. And then she says like, you're deaf and blind and shit like that. She's just like going off on him about some, almost like in some like poetic way that I don't think his 14-year-old brain is really ready for at this point in his life. I think he's like, damn, I thought people were just like either happy or sad. I didn't realize there was this weird gray area of emotions that we got going on right here with Glosha. And he starts looking a little worried. She just keeps going on about how like she wants children and how she'd do anything for him. And he's just kind of like, what? She's like, I would even blow myself up with a fucking grenade right now. And she grabs his grenade off his belt, but he kind of like stops her and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What the fuck's going on? We just met. You don't need to blow yourself up with a grenade. While this is going on, there's like some rumbling in the distance that you just kind of like lightly hear, like something's coming, And then they see that plane from earlier whenever Fleora was on the beach finding the damn rifle, and Glosha starts joking about shooting it. She grabs his gun and she's like, how about we blast it? That'd be pretty funny. And they're kind of laughing about this, but then they notice a bunch of parachutes coming down and we just see paratroopers dropping in like fucking left and right, and they're just like, oh, fuck, wait a minute. Are those fucking paratroopers? Ah, fuck. And then bombs just start dropping all over the fucking place. Shit's getting blown everywhere. Trees are getting blown out high into the fucking sky. It's nuts. At this point in the movie, Fleora goes half deaf because of the bombs, and you just get a really bad, like, tinnitus sound coming through. It's pretty rough. Like, I was watching this with headphones on, and it hits you so hard and it just keeps going. You think it's going to like fade in and out like shell shock or something, No, it's just this really high pitched noise that just like pierces your ear. And basically at this point, you're hearing how Fleora is hearing. And it's basically like the only thing you hear, or the things that you do hear, sound like it's underwater, like almost like this bubbly sound. Glosha comes up yelling for him, but He can't hear her ass, obviously. And then they notice a paratrooper that's like stuck in a tree above them trying to cut himself down. She grabs him and she drags him away from the woods. She's like, we got to get the fuck out of here, buddy. They are nearly shot multiple times during this scene, and it is fucking crazy. I don't know if this is one of the scenes where there was live ammunition. I'm just going to guess that it was, because they don't like say like, yeah, we use live rounds for this one scene. They just say like, we mostly use live rounds for the filming of this movie. And you see like trees getting blown apart with bullets and shit, and it's like, god damn, I just can't imagine, like, what would they have done? I mean, what would they have done if they just blasted one of these kids? Like, both of these actors look really young. We know that Fleora is like 14. This girl doesn't look that much older either. Like, she looks like maybe she could be 15 or 16 or some shit. So it's crazy to think that they're signing up for this. So these two, they hide in a ditch until the Nazi soldiers, they're just kind of like walking by, and they don't notice them. They're all covered up in brush and shit like that and debris. After the coast is clear, Fleora makes a little hut for him and Galasha to take shelter in. He tells her that the plan is going to be, we're going back to my home village. We're going to go to my mom's house. We're going to hang out there for a while. We're going to do something a little more chill than this, right? Maybe play some N64 and drink some damn Mountain Dew or something like that. Back to the good old days. There's some shots of them sleeping, and like this big ass stork just comes up and watches them, which I don't know what that was about or if that had any kind of deeper meaning, but it's one of those movies where you're just like, is that symbolic? I don't know. Maybe it is. The next morning it's raining, so the two just use this as a chance to kind of like wash themselves off, and they're having a pretty good time, all things considered. They're like cracking up laughing. The sound is still all fucked up though, so we know Fleora's ears are pretty bad. And Galasha, she jumps up on a suitcase and just starts doing this like little dance number thing. It's like what you would imagine like an Irish jig would be or something like that, and Fleora is just cracking up. He thinks this is the funniest fucking thing he's ever seen in his life. After this, they get dressed. Fleora must have hurt his foot because he just starts using like makeshift crutches to finish the walk back to the village. Right away, things seem off at the village. It doesn't look like the same village that he left. The village is too quiet. He walks right into his house. It's empty. There's nothing there. There's just like toys on the floor with like flies all over him and shit. No sign of his mom or his sisters. He tells Galasha, he's like, they probably just went somewhere. They're just out at the store or some shit. Maybe they'll be back later. She comes in and the place is filled with flies, old food sitting on the table. Fleora grabs a pot out of the oven and he's like, hey, the pot's still warm. He takes a bite out of it and is like, he's fine with it. But then Galasha takes a bite. He's like, come on, eat up, Galasha. This shit's delicious. She gets about 1.5 bites in and she just pukes all over the place. And you kind of just get the idea that like Fleora is in serious denial about what must have happened here. That like this food's gone rotten because no one's been at the damn house because they're probably all dead. He runs outside, looks around some more. His expression is still showing like shell shock at this point. Like he still looks like he's in disbelief. And then he's like, I know where to find them. And he takes off running. As they're running away, Galasha looks over her shoulder and just sees like behind the house, there's like this giant stack of dead bodies. And so she's like, oh, fuck. But he doesn't look around and see that. Or if he does, he doesn't, like it doesn't show him look around and see that. So I think he just, it's kind of like has blinders on at this point where he's like, nope, everything's fine. I'm going to go find my parents, my mom and my sisters, Fleora starts pushing his way through this bog that's about chest deep. It's just like really thick, like, sewagey looking shit. Galasha follows him in there, but they're just like barely making it through. And he's like, this is where my family went. They must have gone over here to this island that's on the other side of the bog. It's like, okay, I guess that makes sense. I mean, good idea as any, right? Fleora. And then the sound design, it really stands out here. It's almost bubbly sounding with like discordant like organ chords in the background. You just kind of hear like animals or people screeching really loudly. It just, I don't know. It does a really good job of like showing how Fleora is feeling and how like this stuff is like building inside of him. So when they get out of the bog, Glosha loses it. And she's like, listen, your family's back there in the village. They're fucking dead. And Fleora's like, I disagree. And then he grabs her and starts choking her and he launches her back into the bog. Like he's going to try to kill her, I think, for a second. But he changes his mind. He's like, oh shit, I'm not going to kill you. They look over and see a guy just kind of watching them nearby. He comes over and helps Glosha out of the water. She starts telling the guy that Fleora dragged her in there to kill her. She's like, he's gone fucking deaf and crazy and his whole family's fucking dead and stuff like that. And this guy brings them to this other little makeshift community out in the woods. And one of the women is from the town that Fleora is from. And she's like, Fleora, your folks are dead. I saw them get killed, And he's just kind of like, fuck. Like his whole face the whole time is just like, there's many a time in this movie where Fleora just pulls off the 1,000-yard stare perfectly. And it's like the cover of the movie is just his face looking fucking, insane, just looking completely gone. They're led to the leader of the town elder, This guy is burned from probably about like 60% of his body is like completely black and burnt. And he's just lying on like this bed of hay and he tells Fleora, he's just like, I told you so, motherfucker. I told you not to dig up the goddamn gun. And then he explains that he was covered in petrol and burned alive. And while this was happening, he was begging for the Nazis to kill him, but they just laughed at him and let him burn there. So he really hit Fleora with one of the craziest I told you so's of all time. I can't believe that. After hearing this, Fleora just shoves his head into the mud in an attempt to kill himself. Glosha grabs him and stops him, pulls him out of there. And then the next shot is just Glosha trying to get Fleora to eat some greens. And he is looking much worse. His look just overall is getting much worse. He's got like these deep bags under his eyes that look like big ass bruises almost. And he looks wiped out. He's getting this super pale complexion. His hair is looking like thinner. I'm not sure why, but at this little camp, they just have like this skeleton on a pole that they're working on. They're like molding skin around its face and stuff like that, using like mud or clay or something. And as it goes on, we see that they're making a Hitler dummy. So people take turns just like spitting on it. And after Fleora gets all of his hair cut off, he joins in with spitting on it and stuff like that. Some of the men of this company, they're like, hey, we're going on a little mission. Fleora, you want to come with us? And he's just like, hell yeah. As he's walking away, Glosha tries to comfort him by being like, hey, there's no way you could have known that any of this would happen just by digging a fucking rifle out of the ground. You know what I mean? And he's just like, no, it's my fault. And so he's like, it's all mine, all my fault. God damn it. So the group that Fleora is hiking with, they have 4 guys in it. And at this point, I wasn't really sure like what the plan is. I think they're going out to just try to find food or whatever, but they do bring this Hitler dummy with them and it looks heavy as hell. It's like 6 feet fucking tall or something. I don't know. I didn't understand the plan. We'll figure out what they're using it for, I guess, soon enough. Then we just cut to some bald guy running through a field being shot at. Really amazing camera work here and throughout the entire movie. The camera work is fantastic. It's just really beautifully done. And I didn't recognize this bald guy, but he is one of the dudes that's in this party. So they were being shot at, but after they make cover in the woods, Fleora just starts like cracking up nonstop. He's just losing it. His damn mental stability is basically gone at this point. And then we cut to this tank just hauling ass down a dirt road. It's a fucking big ass German tank and it's like swerving all over the place. After it passes by them, Fleora and the gang, they run out in the middle of the road and they plant the Hitler dummy in the ground in the middle of this dirt road. So from what they're saying, it sounds like that this giant dummy is supposed to explode. I don't know what's going to trigger it. I don't know. It wasn't really clear to me like what the end game was with this damn Hitler dummy. So they camp out here for a little while to rest, regain their energy and stuff like that. They decide to head back to the camp because they can't get any supplies. There's too many damn German soldiers around. They didn't realize there would be this many Germans patrolling the area. Fleora and the main guy, they cross the road, and right after they get across it, a huge explosion happens behind them. They look back, they see that that they were camping out in a minefield. So The other two dudes, they get completely blown apart. Fleora looks shocked again. He looks up and sees that that same plane is flying over them that we saw at the beginning of the movie. Now we cut to a guy going outside to piss. The camera is following him like POV style. The leader of the gang and Fleora, they just stop this guy mid-piss and steal his cow. They're like, hey, cut off the stream or whatever. And the guy's like, fine. And so he like zips it up, goes and helps them steal his cow. So they get his cow, they run off, they pause to do a quick milking once they get far enough away from this farm, and they just drink the damn cow milk straight from the damn udders, which looks wonderful. It's like a dream come true for me to just drink that cow milk straight from the teats. It's got to be so pure. This little bit of fun is quickly interrupted by a flare being shot in the sky and a bunch of fucking machine gun fire. So they both drop down, but when Fleora crawls back to check on the older guy, he finds that he's been shot to death. He starts crawling after the cow and grabs a hold of its leash, but pretty much as soon as that happens, another flare goes up and more machine guns start blasting. And the cow is shot to death, and it's awful because, just the whole thing. Even when I read that little like AI overview where it's like, no, the cow didn't die, I was just like, no, I'm pretty sure the cow fucking died. Unless they got a really good cow actor, it looks like the cow dies. Fleora just lays down next to the cow and starts crying until he falls asleep. When he wakes up, he tries to drag the cow to its feet. I wasn't sure if this was part of him being in denial about death, just like overall, or if he's just really wanting to get this cow back as a food supply. But he starts walking through the field. It's foggy as hell now for some reason. He comes across a horse loaded up to a hay wagon and he just steals it. He's like, fuck yeah, I'll get the cow back in the fucking wagon. The farmer runs up. This is a different farmer. He tries to stop him, but Fleora like points his rifle at him and he's like, get the fuck back. I'm taking your damn horse and stuff. The farmer's like, wait a minute. There's some trucks coming nearby. We need to hide. So Fleora throws all of his ammunition, all his guns and shit like that, all of his weapons in a big like hay pile and takes off his jacket. And the farmer's like, don't be fucking stupid, bud. Get rid of that shit. Come with me. So Fleora comes with him on the wagon. He's like, I'm going to give you a fake name and a little fake backstory just in case we get questions by these damn Nazis. We see some Nazis driving around with a dead body on like a motorcycle. It's like on the sidecar of the motorcycle or something, and it has a sign on it that says, I insulted a Nazi soldier this morning. There's quite a few other Nazi vehicles patrolling this area, so they're just like hauling ass to get back to this guy's cabin. When they get inside the small cabin, we just see about 30 or more people hiding out in this place. A soldier comes in and everyone's worried they'll be taken away. They start feeding the soldier. Fleora gets up and the soldier starts like it's like the soldiers outside. So there's like hundreds of soldiers rolling through this little village at this point. And they start making an announcement to meet at the middle of town and bring yours and your family's papers to be checked. They're like, don't worry, guys. We're just here to do a little routine check off and make sure everybody's good. You know what I'm saying? Fleora starts hollering that they're actually going to be rounded up and killed, but a German soldier just grabs him by the face and is like, I'm going to kill this one first. So at this point, everyone in town is being rounded up. Papers are being checked. Some people are being beaten if they're, I guess, resisting or anything like that. A soldier clears out this big empty barn, or it's like a church barn building, I guess, and they make every single person from town pack into this building. And it is intense because everyone is packed so tight. It's like shoulder to shoulder, like crowd crushing each other. You can see women, children getting crowd crushed into the people in front of them. It's wild. They have shepherds nipping at the people, like German shepherds there, just going fucking nuts at the end of their leashes and stuff. Anyone that's resisting is being beaten up with rifles too. So it's awful to see. We catch up with Fleora as he's shoved in to this church building nearly last, and then the doors are locked behind him. And it's really claustrophobic at this point. Like now people are just like smashing like left and right. It's like when you see like the waves of people pushing at a big concert and you can just see the people in the middle have no control over where they're going. It's pure chaos. Everyone's screaming. The children are screaming, trying to climb up the walls and shit. As soon as this guy gets near a window, he gets fucking shot to death. So everyone's clearly realizing how serious this all is. One soldier shoots in the air to quiet everyone down, and he makes an announcement and tells them that if they want to leave, they can, but they just have to leave their kids behind and then they can go free. So obviously no one does this. They all just start screaming, but Fleora is waiting in there and he's like, well, I don't have any kids, I guess. So he climbs out the window. He can't stand it anymore. So he does get out of there. As soon as he jumps down, a German soldier grabs him and walks him over to the guy that's in charge. At this point, we get a really close-up look at Fleora's face, and he looks like he's about 30 years old at this point, or like 30 years older than when the movie started. So let's say 44 years old at this point. The camera cuts back over to the barn. A lady crawls out with her child that looks to be about 4 years old in her arms. As soon as she gets out of the window, they drag her away by the hair and launch the kid in through the window. And it is wild how hard this kid gets tossed. Like, this kid looks legitimately like 4 years old. And the dude, the like Nazi soldier actor, really just fucking launches him back through the window hard as hell. And I just hope they had someone on the other side that was prepared for that, like ready to catch, because god damn, it's wild. The soldiers that are just kind of hanging out are having a great time, though. They're just cracking up, joking, drinking, playing music, and so on. Like they're just throwing a little party, like an impromptu party or something, like a hoedown at this town or whatever. And then shortly after that, though, they just start launching grenades, I think, into the barn, or like small explosives and rugs that are soaked in petrol. So the main Nazi, we just see him with a little chinchilla on his shoulder. I don't know why I wrote that down. It was just a little note that stood out to me. It's like a little chinchilla sitting on his shoulder. And I was like, well, hopefully they don't kill the fucking chinchilla. And they don't worry. I mean, doesn't make it any better that they killed the fucking cow and the birds and shit like that. But, you know, the chinchilla survives this shoot. They start launching a ton of like Molotov cocktails into the barn, and you can just hear everyone screaming while the doors are being like rattled hard as hell with people trying to get out. After a little while, someone gives the order to fire, and the whole squad just starts unloading on the building, like machine gun fire from every single soldier, basically just coming at this building. To finish it off, they pull out the flamethrowers and they just burn the rest of the barn down and hit it with more cocktails. So, yeah. It's wild. The way that this scene goes from what seems like a routine stop that is obviously going to be tense just because of what's going on right now, but, you know, fairly calm. Like, everyone seems calm. There's, I don't know, just seems like they're coming in for like this routine checkup or something. And it goes from that to everyone being massacred is one of the scariest things ever. And it's like a long shot almost. Like, it doesn't feel like there's this big time lapse where like the Nazis have been there for a long time and they're like, you know, escalating things, or like the situation's ramping up. It's just straight like, this is just business as usual. We're just going to round you up now. We're going to be chilling, playing the fucking kazoo over here while we're burning you guys alive. And Fleora is just watching the rest of the Nazis burn down the whole town as they're getting ready to leave. But before they leave, the photography department grabs Fleora and holds him at gunpoint in front of the burnt down barn to take a picture with some of the other soldiers that have a gun pressed against his head. After they get the photo, they just drop him and leave, and he collapses on the floor, just completely unconscious at this point. After the rest of the soldiers leave, we see that the lady that was drug away by her hair is loaded into a truck full of dudes to be gang raped. And I guess this was pretty common during all of these village burnings. So it's something where it's like, it's implied, but when you look into the history of what was going on here and a scene that happens here in a second, this was, I guess, more common even than what they show here. Like, from what I was seeing and reading about, it wasn't just like, oh, they would take one woman. They would pretty much like separate all the women and rape all of them and stuff like that. They also drag this really old lady outside with like her bed and sheets and everything, and they just leave her there in the middle of the town while all the buildings are burning around her. And they're just like, all right, see you later, lady. Good luck, you know. And the next scene cuts to Fleora. He's back up walking through the woods. He comes across one of the Nazi vehicles that has been crashed. It seems like at first I was like, oh damn, maybe they, blew a tire and crashed into a tree, or who knows what happened. But we see that the resistance must have been able to ambush these Nazis that burned down this town as they were leaving. Fliora grabs some gauze and goes back to where he met the farmer with the horse earlier. He finds his rifle, picks it back up, and he tapes the stock of it back together because it got broken during all the cow scene, basically. There's some whistling noises behind Fliora, and he turns around to see that the lady that was gang raped, she's walking back up to the village with no pants on and just has like blood pouring out of her nose and mouth, and her legs are completely covered in blood. Yeah. We see the leader of the resistance looking at Fliora, and one of them has a hold of that little chinchilla, but luckily he's nice to the chinchilla. He's just kind of like holding it. No, but I think it's just to show you like they got all these damn Nazis, or at least like most of them, you know what I mean? A big portion of the Nazis that were burning down this village, they were able to take over and probably kill most of them, you know what I mean? Fliora, he grabs a can of gas. He heads over to where everyone is like gathered around. The surviving Nazis and like Nazi sympathizers are surrounded by about 100 resistance fighters at this point. So they're completely outnumbered, outgunned. Some of the Nazis, like, I think it's more of like the allies or whatever, like the Soviet ally people. They're like kind of piping up and saying like, hey, we were just following orders. We weren't the ones that lit the fire. We're basically just here and they tell us what to do. We actually haven't really even hurt anybody. And they're just kind of pleading for their lives in this way where they're like, we don't really have a hand in what's going on here directly. You know what I'm saying? We're just like, you know, we're just here, you know what I'm saying? But then this younger soldier, he speaks up and he starts like kind of berating them for being cowards. He's like, yeah, it was me that gave the order to leave the kids in the barn and the rest could leave. And then he makes the translator tell them that and tell them that he was trying to get rid of all the kids so that their whole like existence would end there. Like he's like, you guys don't deserve to live and breed and stuff like that. And the translator, he's like, hey, I'm not German, yo, I'm Soviet. Please let me go. And Fliora hands that guy the can of gas, and the leader of the resistance is kind of like, all right, yeah, if you think they should die so bad, why don't you fucking kill them? So this guy's like, hell yeah. And he starts dousing the Nazis in gas. But before this guy runs up with a torch, and before they can light it, a few resistance members step forward and just start blasting all of them. So they just shoot them all to death. I don't think they really wanted to actually. I'm sure some of them probably wanted to watch them burn, but I feel like the ones that were in charge probably didn't really want to, you know, watch people burn. That's just an awful thing to do. Good or bad, I'm sure it probably wouldn't sit well with you, the memory of seeing someone burn alive at your hands. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to sink to their level in a way, but still wanted to kill them. Does that make sense, I guess? After this, we get some real footage from concentration camps that cuts back to a close-up of Fliora's face. He walks over to a picture that's lying in a puddle, and we see that it's a framed photo of Hitler. He pulls his rifle out, and for the first time, he shoots his rifle into this picture. And he starts shooting it over and over again. And every time he does, we kind of get this video footage from World War II, like real footage from World War II and real footage of like Hitler doing speeches and stuff like that. The pictures keep reversing, like the World War II is basically playing in reverse order, and it keeps doing this every time he shoots his gun into the picture until we see Hitler as like a little boy in school, and eventually until he's a little baby sitting on his mother's lap. And when this happens, Fliora can't shoot the picture anymore. I think it's just to resemble, again, like not sinking to that level, like he just witnessed them kill a bunch of kids, and he's just like, can't do it himself, even if it is Hitler or whatever. A couple of tears fall from his eyes, and Fliora has just has the perfect 1,000-yard stare on his face. After that, a title card pops up that says 628 Belarusian villages were burnt to the ground with all of their inhabitants. We cut back to the resistance squad marching up. Fliora runs up and joins them, and then we get the credits. Oh man, so that is a movie worth seeing if you want to watch the unflinching horrors of war from this place and time. I don't know what else to say about it, really. As great as some of these movies have been for this bummer movie marathon, I'm pretty glad that it's over. It has not been really any fun at all. Like the first movie, what was it? Speak No Evil. That was probably the most fun, and that movie is like frustrating as fuck too. But the rest of these have just been like gut punches. I enjoyed this movie about as much as you're supposed to. The acting, the way it looks, the sound is all really great. The story hits hard and it's very dark. So, it's just one of those that if you're going to see it, you might as well be ready for what you're getting into. I'd give it 4 out of 5 time traveling rifles. Next week, we're getting back into the Scream franchise with Scream 6. Without a rewatch, this is my least favorite Scream movie of all time. We're going to see if that changes. We'll find out next week. February, Scream 7 is coming out, so that'll put a cap on the Scream franchise for now. So maybe after that, we'll do some rankings leading up to that. The Scream 7 release, I'm sure I'll be putting out some more Scream shit. So be on the lookout for more Scream shit. Thanks for listening. And good night.